Good evening to you, Havarim. Tonight on Jackson Snyder Presents, we've got the Yahad crew, along with Tammy, No Name, for our third interview with Tammy, a woman abused as a child, abused throughout her youth, a person that's learned the hard way how to fight the devil.
You are about to experience Jackson Snyder Presents, direct from the Vero Essene Yahad, a Hebrew Nation radio original program. JSP is a variety show seeking out Jewish and Christian origins, religion, theology, and history, and doing so in a fashion that is both educational and entertaining. Welcome to Jackson Snyder Presents.
But I must caution you, this third interview is probably not for young people, probably not for very sensitive people. So please take a warning. What is spoken of here is not for everybody. However, for Tammy herself, as you will hear toward the end of this recording, it has been a cathartic experience where she has, for the very first time, told her story of abuse and demonization and has gotten relief. And we here at the Vero Essene Yahad, we appreciate her faith and courage very much and are astounded by the fact that she would come to us to talk about these things. And why? Because there are many, many other people who have had experiences like Tammy's, experiences that have been bottled up for years, sometimes a whole lifetime, with no one to talk about them with. And for some people, confession is good for the soul. If you have comments or questions for Tammy or for us, you can contact us very easily. Go to www.yahad.me. You'll find there a form. There are numerous books you can order on that form, all free of charge. There's a place there where you can upload a file. And most of all, there's a field there where you can say what you need to say. Let us know what you need. And if you've got a story like this, you're welcome to come on with us. We're on, now just about every day of the week on Hebrew Nation Radio, on YouTube, on Podbean. No, we're not on Apple. No, we're not on Spotify. What we do here is not for everyone. What we do is especially for post-Christians and thinking believers. Yahweh be with you as we listen to this testimonial account together. And may our beloved Messiah Yeshua continue to be with Tammy every hour of every day. Amen. Good evening, Havarim.
Hello.
Hello. Who is this?
How are you? I'm here.
Oh, this is Tammy?
Yep.
Oh, good. I'm glad that you made it tonight. Yeah,
yes.
Here,
I stopped paying attention to time, and then I realized what time it was.
Well, you're fine. We've got a small bunch here tonight, but they are eager. How's your week been so far?
It's been pretty good. I mean, as good as it can be, I guess. I feel like I've been under complete attack.
Really?
Ever since you told me that we were going to go on Tuesday, I felt like the enemy was coming against me hardcore. So I had to fight like everything in me to just keep my nose in the book and read word and pray and just talk to the Father the whole week.
What did you get? Did you get something from the throne room?
Well, I can say that as long as I focus on the Word and I focus on the things of the Father, the enemy can't touch me, and that's all I know. If I allow the enemy to come in and I embrace the attacks that are coming at me, that's what opens the door for the enemy to come in. So I immediately, when the enemy tries to come in, I immediately stop the enemy and I immediately go to the Word and I just start focusing on the Word. I just start praying to the Father and I just come against anything that the enemy might be trying to put on me.
I wonder why everybody doesn't do that.
Well, it's a battleground.
It is.
Well, I mean, I think that most people look at the Father as if he's like Santa Claus, almost like a fairy tale, if that makes sense. And they don't see that he's real and that he's there at all times, and at any point in time you can come to him and
That's the
submit
way we're
anything
trained.
to him.
Yeah, we're trained that way nowadays, especially this last few generations, with what they call science today. Science leaving out any possibility of the supernatural or even a creator, even one with infinite knowledge and information here. That can't possibly be. You must be crazy.
That's right.
What kind of challenges? What kind of challenges did you face just this last week?
When you messaged me the message that I'd be on Tuesday, that night, I went to bed and I woke up at 4:00 in the morning, and my backside of my upper backside of my left hand side, I all of a sudden was in horrible pain, and I knew it was my liver, and my whole insides were swollen. Like it was almost like I was 4 months pregnant. Now I'm a pretty small girl. I'm 5'2", and I weigh about 120 pounds at the most. So when anything happens to me, it's very noticeable to me right away. But I was in horrible pain. And immediately, the first feeling that I got was I felt fear that I'm going to have to go to the hospital. And I immediately went to the Father and I said, I'm not going to the hospital. I don't believe in hospitals. I don't believe that that's where I'm supposed to go. I know that I can come to you. I can come to you right now. You know, I just start talking to myself that way. And I know that you can heal me. And so I started praying, you know, whatever demonic force is trying to attack me right now, I ask that you release me of this demon in the name of Yeshua. And I just prayed and I prayed and I prayed. Now, I didn't get anything right away. What I did get is that as soon as I get up in the morning, if it's still there, I have to come down to the main house and I have to have all my children pray over me. I don't know if it was just something that the Father was orchestrating, you know, to have my children participate in something that they needed to participate in, if that makes
powerful.
Sense.
That is powerful.
Yeah. So I came up, I woke up in the morning and it was still there. It wasn't gone. So I was super weak. Like I could barely even walk to get to the main house. I could barely even get here. You could see obviously in my face, just by the expression on my face, I was in a lot of pain. So I walked in the house and everybody was pretty much right here in the living room already. And I looked at them. I said, listen, you guys, I'm not going to the hospital. I don't want you guys to even have hospital thoughts in your mind, okay? We serve our Father is very powerful, who we serve. And if we go to him right now, we go to him together. I want you guys to lay hands on me. And I want you guys to sincerely believe. Don't let any doubt come in your heart. Don't have any doubt. I want you to seriously believe that the Father can heal me, because he can. He can heal me. So my kids right away were on board with it, and I just dropped to my knees on the floor, and all my kids came over and laid hands on me. And I'll tell you what, it was so powerful, Jackson Snyder. My kids prayed the most sincere prayer that I've ever heard a child pray. And my healing began right then and there. By the end of the day, I didn't even know that anything had happened to me at 4:00 in the morning.
Oh.
And all my kids are sitting right here hearing me speak to you. They're all here as a witness.
You must live on a plantation or something. You say like you're going to walk up to the big house. And how's that work out?
We're on 16 acres of land, and I'm at the bottom of the hill, because I have an RV.
Oh, okay.
So, because I do a lot of traveling, so I have my RV. So, I sleep down at the RV, and the kids sleep up at the main house. So, some of them sleep down at the RV. Sometimes I'll have a couple kids down there sleeping at the RV, but most of the time they sleep up here at the main house. So, because this is where their bedroom is and stuff like that. But generally, I'll have at least one kid, most of the time 2 or 3 kids that sleep down at the RV with me. But that specific night, it was 2 of my kids that slept down there.
Well, you got you got the true army working on your side.
Yes, I do. And yes, so it was a pretty powerful moment. And then the next thing that happened, literally right after that happened, the very next day, I all of a sudden had this pain in my neck, like the front of my neck, not where my throat is, but like right next to it. It was this, I could barely even swallow. Like I couldn't even swallow. It hurt so bad to swallow. And I just knew right away, like I'm telling you right now, I'm so in tune with the spiritual realm. And most people think that sicknesses and stuff like that are like sicknesses, you know. I mean, I'm not saying I was sick, but you know, just ailments of our body. Most people think that that's just a natural process. These things are supposed to happen to you, and you know, go to the doctors and get medicine, and they'll make you all better.
Yeah.
But a lot of things are not just natural things happen to you. A lot of things are spiritual, and we can come against it, and we can go to the Father, and He is the healer. He heals us through His Son. He heals us. We are healed.
Keep preaching. I'm listening. I'm listening.
Well, it's truth, you know.
Yeah.
People would just realize that it's truth, that He is our all physician. He is, even if it is a natural thing all of a sudden happening to us, even if it is natural, and it's something that is an ailment on our body, we can go to Him because He's the all physician, and He will heal us. We will be healed. That's what His word says. He promises that. You can go to Him. He's the all physician. And so, you know, most of the time, like I think I told you in the past, I don't trust doctors. I don't believe that they're I mean, maybe there might be a doctor out there that might be on the Father's side. I don't know. But most doctors are for science, and science is witchcraft. Medication and pills and all that stuff, that is all pharmakean, and it's evil. It's witchcraft. And it was all created way back in the Nephilim time. And it's not what, we're not supposed to be dependent on medicine. We're not supposed to be dependent on the things of this world. We're supposed to be dependent on the Father.
Well, you really did decide to become controversial tonight. That is a very controversial thing to say. We've had debates on that. Just how far...
Oh, no, I hope I didn't hurt anybody's feelings. I'm really not trying to hurt anybody's feelings or anything.
We've heard that before, but some of us like me, maybe you can explain this. I have been taking pharmaceutical medications for many years that I have used in a sacramental way, as though this is what Elohim has given me to help me maintain my life and be pain-free in so much as possible. Because with my problem, I had prayed up storms when I was younger. I've had this all my life, the problems that I have. And I never got any relief from it until I started using the medicine that I was prescribed sacramentally. That is understanding it as the medicine as being a catalyst between the Father's ability to heal me and my own body's ability to become healed. So I've heard it a lot of times before. It doesn't bother me to hear that point of view because I've heard it so much and we hear it all the time. But it seems to me like people that are especially cursed by demonic occurrences in their life are the ones that are also most affected and quickly by Yahweh's healing when they pray. They've got to have a greater grace lives in order to just go on. When you think about
right. Yeah, I hope I didn't hurt your feelings.
No, look, you need more grace than I do because you are being attacked right head-on attacks time after time after time. And you've got all those children also that not only they can pray for you, but you have to pray to have them all protected as well.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I put in my 2 cents?
Oh, please.
I think, Jackson, that you're doing good with the medicine in spite of the medicine, not because of the medicine. I think that you could probably be healed with natural things if you just only ate food that Yahweh intended. But I could be wrong. Like if we eat fruits and vegetables, and I've been really strict because I had to, I got off all pharmaceuticals. I was on heart medicine, blood pressure medicine. I dropped a bunch of weight, and my diabetes completely resolved itself.
Wow.
So
Praise Yahweh.
So I used to be on those drugs, and I would if I needed them, but I got healed. So yeah, I just want to put that in there.
You believe in creative healing, like if you have some kind of defect even from birth or some disease from birth, that it can be creatively healed during your times of prayer and supplication? What do you think? Creative healing.
Is that to me? Are you talking to me?
Sure.
One thing that I can say about that is I have an adopted brother that has been adopted in the family, and he is autistic. Now the world sees autism as some kind of certain disability, but to me, my brother is so much more spiritual and close to the Father than anybody that I know, spiritually speaking. Like he has such an amazing ability, and I see it as being something good, because I a long time ago, I will say that I questioned the Father, what's going to happen to my brother Bob? What's going to happen to him? Because he's not like us. He's different, and I really feel like the Father showed me that he's not sick. He doesn't have a disability. It's not a disability at all, that he's made in his image as well. And that there is nothing that needs to be healed about him. You know what I mean?
He has a special position maybe in the kingdom, or he has a special gift that is necessary in the millennium or in the resurrection. Who knows? But one thing I've found by talking to people is that a lot of the people that have demonic problems the most seem to be those that have witches in their family tree someplace, or very evil people, and it seems like these things come to them. Well, it's almost a hereditary thing. It's almost like,
right.
I got the same problems as my old grandpa or something like that. And but a lot of people, did you have witches in your family, or people that did that kind of thing before you came along?
My mom was heavily into witchcraft. Now, when I say that she was heavily into witchcraft, and I think I might have mentioned it on one of my other videos, but my mom was definitely a witch. And what I mean by that is she fully believed in palm readings. She was into the whole palm reading thing. Also, speaking to like dead people, certain things. But
that's a major sin.
Yeah, it wasn't until later in life that, and I was fully involved in the church at that time. It wasn't until later in life that I realized how fully into witchcraft that she was. She had gotten into an accident and had to go through surgery. She broke her hip, and she had to go through surgery. And so I went to her house. I told the doctors that I'm going to go to the house. I'm going to clean her house up and make sure that there's room for her to be able to get back and forth with a walker and this, that, and the other. So I started cleaning her house. Now, my mom's not one of the tidiest people. I could go on and on about that, but her house was a mess, just put it that way. So I started cleaning things up, and I found this big, huge crate of papers, and I didn't know if it was something important or if I could just toss it away, but it was out in her living room, where it was easily accessible, so I wasn't sure what it was. I opened it up, and I started pulling some of the papers out, and it was this witch that advertises herself, I guess, and it had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of letters from this lady to my mom.
Oh.
And in my opinion, it was a money scam thing, because I started reading these letters, and I was jaw dropped. I was literally jaw dropped. This lady had my mom convinced that if she bought all these idol trinkets and put it in all her corners and plants and all this stuff, that money would come her way. So after I'm reading these letters, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to search her house for trinkets now. So I started searching her house, and sure enough, in all her plants, all the corners of her windows, everywhere in her house where you wouldn't see if you just walked into the house, you wouldn't see these things. But everywhere that this lady told her to put things, I went and looked, and sure enough, my mom bought the trinket and had it there. So I took all of that stuff and I threw it all out, and I went straight back to the hospital, and I told her, I said, I cleaned your house, and I'm just going to let you know, I threw all the witchcraft stuff I found in your house out.
Wow.
She was so angry with me, and she tried to explain to me that the lady was a white witch. She's a good one. And that my mom is a white witch, and that she's a good one. And I just was like, I couldn't believe what my mom was saying. And I was like, oh my gosh, And I told her, I said, well, I'm just telling you right now, you don't have one trinket, you don't have one piece of paper left in your house of that lady. I got rid of it all.
Do you remember what kind of trinkets you're talking about?
They were little idols, like little animal idols, or they were little carved out idols, and they were only about like 2 inches tall, or some of them would be only an inch tall, but they were like animals. They would all be like some sort of an animal thing.
You mean like little toys? Little children's toys?
No. They were carved out nice, they were not, they weren't plastic. They were like ceramic, like carved out, not ceramic, but like stone. They were like stone or wood, something like that, stone or wood, but they were carved out. You could see that, if this lady's really making these things, she's spending some time on making them individually to send to these people.
Graven images.
She said exactly stones and wood.
Right.
But was your mother nice, though? I mean, was your mother a good person?
No, my mom was horrible.
Oh, okay.
She was a horrible person. No, she was horrible always. And I tried to go into my adult life pretending like nothing happened to me ever as a child, that nobody will ever know what happened to me as a child. I tried to pretend like none of that happened. And I tried to be servant to my mom. I went that low to just serve her, the one that did horrible, horrible things to me.
Are you talking about satanic ritual abuse? Let's just get it on the table here. Satanic ritual abuse. Were you a victim of that?
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with MK Ultra, but I questioned whether I was part of some kind of MK Ultra cult type situation, because my grandparents were in the lodge, the Freemason lodge, heavily. My grandpa had the ring. He was very high up in it. My grandma and my grandpa both wore like this special uniform with this hat, and they went to all the meetings, and we've been there multiple times, and that's a whole other story.
You're hit from all sides, it sounds to me. Your mother's witchcraft. She's got herself a guru someplace is really stealing her money and in trade for these little trinkets that she probably cursed antiques maybe. And then you've got the Masonic curse. Masons high up, they curse their families, Yes,
right.
Women are in the Freemasons.
I've dug heavily deep into everything that I could possibly dig into that has to do with anything with Freemasons, with MK Ultra, with ritual abuse. I mean, I've looked all into that, and I can't say for sure about the MK Ultra, because I think even though MK Ultra is something in the very physical realm, I truly believe it's in the spiritual realm as well.
You may contact us at Jackson Snyder Presents at this email address, veroyahad@gmail.com. That is veroyahad@gmail.com. And let me remind you, you are listening to Jackson Snyder Presents with your host tonight, Bogdan G. Shrumkov. Thank you for listening. We'll be right back. Jackson Snyder Present is back. Join us now for more of this interesting discussion.
Even though MK Ultra is something in the very physical realm, I truly believe it's in the spiritual realm as well. And I think it's a possibility that the MK Ultra spirit is what has come after me my whole childhood, because the things that happened to me and the way that they happened to me were I mean, like what I spoke about with my little brother, or he was my big brother, but you know, he was little. When I spoke about my brother, I don't know how a child at that young of a mind could ever even think the way that he thought. You know what I mean? Like there's no way a 7-year-old child would be able to think those thoughts in their head, that it came from somewhere, and the only way that I can think that they came from was in the spiritual realm.
Did your brother say that he came from someplace?
No. There was nothing like that.
I'm missing that.
No, he didn't say he came from someplace. I'm saying that his way that he behaved, the things that he did to me, had to have come from the spiritual realm. I mean, we went into our adulthood. I mean, my brother was still always very controlling me throughout my adulthood, to the point where I had to just cut him out of my life. Same with my mother. My mother was the same way. She was still very controlling in a very negative, ugly way, and I tried the best that I could to be in her life and serve her and love her unconditionally anyways, until the last straw that was for me is my mom became very severely abusive to my son, who is 11 now. He was 3 then, and she became very severely abusive to him when he was over at her house without me. And my daughter recorded it on videotape so that she could not deny it. And that was the last straw for me, because when I had my first daughter, I told both my mom and my stepfather, I said, you will never, ever, ever talk, touch, or do anything that you've ever done to me my whole childhood. You will never do that to this baby. And I said, and the first time you do anything to her in any kind of a way, you'll never see her again. And I made that, I told them that. And it wasn't until, later on in life that my 11-year-old son was 3 years old and was at her house. And she ended up doing some really bad things to him, and that was it. I was done. I cut her out of my life, and none of my children see her. Nobody is in her life. My children or me, none of us are in her life, and we've been out of her life for 7 or 8 years now. Her and my brother.
There's a number of comments on the chat. Wonder if I could go through some of those with you. I don't know if you can see them ever or not where you're at. I'll go back.
No, I'm not on video. I'm only on speaker.
Okay, I didn't think so. I'll just start at the bottom since that's the easiest. Vicky asked, did she do remote viewing? I imagine that we're talking about your mother here. Remote viewing, have you ever heard of that?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, that's like you go into a trance and you can see what's going on in another place, or you actually have a kind of an astral way of traveling someplace else. Is that right, Vicky? Vicky, come on. That's a good question. Come on here and ask it right.
Yes, that's basically right. I was wondering that because you said, and not your mother, you, because you said that you had suspected that maybe you may have been subjected to MK Ultra. And so that made me wonder if maybe, they had tried to show you how to do remote viewing.
While you're into that, Vicky, before you go farther, please define to some extent for us what MK Ultra is.
oh gosh, it is so deep.
I've read everything I could on MK Ultra. I can tell you that I've read everything I could on and everything that I could absolutely find on MK Ultra.
It's like a government program that mind reading program, right?
Ted Kaczynski was subjected to MK Ultra.
That's right. So is that evidently is not just a hoax?
No,
it's a real thing, and they took children and put them through behavioral therapy.
That is what remote viewing is, the way Jackson described it. It's where you can see what's going on in another place.
Are you asking if my mom has done that?
No, I was asked, well, I guess maybe your mom, but I was thinking more, I was wondering if you had, because you said you thought you were involved with the MK Ultra. And a lot of times the remote viewing kind of walks side by side with the MK Ultra. That's why I wondered. Not necessarily, but sometimes.
Okay, well, in my first video that I did with Jackson, I had explained that I would have out-of-body experiences. Now, I don't know if that is the same thing, like I literally felt my body leave my body.
It isn't really. Go out. It kind of is, but you really don't go anywhere. You can see what someone else is doing in another place.
No,
and it's usually related. It's usually related. MK Ultra is usually, it's usually related to government things that they're trying to teach when they try to, when you're involved in MK Ultra and remote viewing, it's a little bit different than astral projection, but I really don't know how to describe it.
Well, there's a link to Wikipedia on MK Ultra, and let me just read the first short paragraph.
Let me just say, and then I'll click off, Jackson.
All right.
Pardon me. If you were involved in remote viewing, you would know it.
Okay, I can say that my mom saw things. My mom would see things that were futuristic or things that would happen like shortly after, or she would have situations where, to give you an example, she would be at work and like one of their biggest things they would ground me from the telephone, and they'd take the telephone and they'd lock it up in their bedroom. They had a deadbolt on their room, so they'd lock the telephone up in the bedroom when they'd leave us home alone. Like my mom would go to work and my stepfather would go out and play like poker or whatever. And somehow she would know like that I was on the phone, and she would leave her job, come to the house to see if it's true. And sure enough, she would open the door, and I wouldn't be expecting it because I'm not expecting her home until 10, 11 o'clock at night. And she would catch me like on the phone. Like she had lots of things that she would do like that where she knew something was going on that was going on, and she'd scope it out to see if it was really going on, and it would be going on, if that makes sense. I don't know if that is something like she's predicted things to happen in the future. Like she knew that
a medium.
Right. She definitely practiced that stuff, but you got to understand, I was so severely wounded as a child that I was very developmentally delayed. And I was like I had no clue about nothing as a child. I had no clue. The only thing that I have to go by is what my mom may have spoken about. Like she knew, I remember her telling a story about how she knew her grandma was going to get into a car accident and die, and she saw it happening, and then it happened. You know what I mean? Like she knew it was going to happen. Now that was when she was when she was younger. You know, she was a child at that time, maybe a teenager. She would have certain things like that, but she's told multiple different stories of seeing things in the future and then it happening, if that makes sense. Whether she was practicing it or not, I don't know.
Well, it looks like what MK Ultra is a program where the CIA used drugs on unsuspecting people to try to break down their will, and with the hope of maybe using one of these drugs to break down the will of everyone in the country and in Canada too. And there's quite a bit here on that I had read that it was, and I'd read about it before. This was putting people through doses of LSD and
Right.
interrogations to weaken individuals, forced confessions through brainwashing and psychological torture. And finally, it's an offshoot from the experiments that the Nazis were doing in concentration camps and Japanese doing during the World War II as well. So
right.
And a lot more real. And
they also did experiments on children, and what led me to believe that possibly my mom was part of some kind of experiment. When she was pregnant for me at like 6 months of pregnancy, something happened in her pregnancy. Now, her stories that she's told me, I've had 8 children now, and after having my own children, what she told me just didn't make sense. And so I've talked to a couple maternity type doctor people and asked them, my mom said that I died in her, and they had to shoot all kinds of needles in her for several months and this, that, and the other. And the doctors were like, I've never heard anything like that in my life. But I do know that her original due date for me was in November, like the middle to around between November 15th to the 5th. And they forced her to carry me until December 5th. And when I was born, I was still only born at 5 pounds 4 ounces. I was way underdeveloped, and I had some kind of defect on one of my eyes that I eventually had surgery at like 3 years old to have something removed off my eye. But so I know that, my mom's the kind of person that whatever she can make money off of, she'll do. So if she had a doctor say, we'd like to do some experiments and we'll pay you for it, if that makes sense, then, would you sign off for us to do these experiments? That's what I feel like my mom did. I feel like my mom got paid to do some sort of an experiment with the doctors and went through with it because she also signed up for an experimental thing with the government after she had my twin brothers. I have younger twin brothers, and the twins were mirror image, identical twins, mirror image. And what she told us is that the state of Florida had never had that type of a set of twins. So the boys went to, which I know that they went because I remember the boys went to a special school from like small babyhood. They would go to this school with the government. It was, or I don't know if it was called a school. It was a research. They went to this research facility that, and they were researched on all the way up until they were like 5 or 6 years old. They went there every single week, like Monday through Friday. My brothers were gone. And they went to this research facility that I'm pretty sure my mom got paid for it. I know that she didn't have to pay a dime for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like whatever happens, she's close to some government programs. If she's used them, she's plugged into
right. So that's what led me to think, well, maybe I was part of this experiment, and that's what happened when in my mom's pregnancy is that she was getting injections, because I know she was getting injections in her belly. She told me that they were sticking needles right through her belly into me, or not into me, but into the sac of the baby, which was me, and was injecting her with these things that were supposed to revive me back to life and make me start growing again, and this, that, and the other. I have to honestly say, I can't believe everything that my mom says. I just can't. But I do believe that something happened to me because I had 7, 8 pound babies. It's really hard to be carrying a baby, say 10, 11, 12 days late, and it to be only 5 pounds, 4 ounces. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have a baby 5 pounds, 4 ounces after carrying them, 12 days late.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no way. I mean, I was so underweight. I was so tiny and sickly as a baby that something was going on. That's all I know. I mean, I wish I could get my mom's medical records from the hospital that she had me at, but that's so long ago now, 47 years ago. I seriously doubt that's anything that's even on file.
Can I just say something real quick, Jackson?
Go ahead, Derek.
Just to assist what I was just saying, what you were saying. Just want to just kind of interject. The great thing is that the Word of God just says that when we have given our life to Christ, that we're redeemed from the law of sin and death, meaning that anything that has been cast on us, that we inherited through gene or lineage, however you come into these particular issues, it's a great thing to know that we can have confidence that when we give our life to Christ, that those things, like the Bible says, all things are passed away, and we are a new creation.
That's what we need. That's what we need, a reminder.
Absolutely, Jackson. So thank you for that. Thank you for letting me say that.
Thank you. I guess, Christian, you consider that is in me is greater than he that's in the world, but at the same time, it's like when the pain comes or the devil wants to come, we just forget that. At least I do. I've had some horrendous attacks, but at the same time, I don't. It's the last thing I think of doing, actually, to rebuke that and tell it to go away. It's like my mind is paralyzed from spiritual things. How about you? Anybody else have that particular situation?
I can say that. Yeah, I can say that personally for myself. The first feeling of when something does happen, it's first a paralyzing feeling. And I will be honest with you, I lived in such fear before. Before as in, I'm going to say, maybe 4 years ago on back. The last 4 years, I've learned that, I don't have to walk in that fear anymore. And I have come out of it. But before that, I was fear ruled and run my life. I was so fearful of every single thing on a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week
Me
basis.
too, as a child, scared of everything, especially a certain person in the family I was deathly scared of. I just wonder, do you share, do you have the ability to share some of your encounters here with anyone else in your family?
No, I have the only people that I have in my life are my children. And nobody else is in my life because, for one thing, my real father was not ever in my life my whole life. It was just my stepfather, and my stepfather ended up committing suicide the next month after. Do you remember the article that I sent you earlier?
Yeah.
About the twins? After the whole Cracker Barrel thing happened, the very next month, my stepfather committed suicide.
Well, you just have one thing after the other in your young life, and even now, that I can't imagine how you could live any other way than to be close in with a father. Else, I would think that a person would just go absolutely crazy being accosted by demons. Should I talk about a couple of things that I had mentioned about a week ago? We got about 20 minutes left. Yeah, 20 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, so where I left off in the last video, I left off with my brother and them being teenagers and this, that, and the other. But I wanted to go back because there's several layers of onions here. I'm like an onion, and there's several layers. So I wanted to go back to when I was in the 4th grade, and one of the things that I had mentioned about my mom is she never hugged me or loved me or told me she loved me or had any type of affection towards me ever. And one of the biggest things that she practiced with me was neglect. I was very, very neglected. So when I was in the 4th grade, now this is going to bring, if everybody's old enough anyway, this is going to bring back, everybody will kind of know the time frame.
Nobody's younger than about 8. The youngest one here is about 8 years old.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Okay.
Why don't you keep your mouth shut?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I don't think this is information for an 8-year-old. Well, when I was in the 4th grade, was when the Challenger space shuttle blew up. And because I'm from the East Coast of Florida, I witnessed it, even felt the effects of it blowing up where I was at my school. And so that'll give you the time frame of what I'm about to tell you. So in that year of in that year of fourth grade, I got into a horrible car accident with my stepfather, and it was just me and my stepfather. The car had swerved off the road a little bit, and it hit wet grass, and it just started sliding. Now, if you know anything about Florida, Florida has all these like canals where it's just this opening of water that goes under like little bridges and stuff. It's not this big river of water like up north or anything. It's just canals is what they're called. Canals of water. And we ended up we were in my mom's station wagon. We ended up jumping the canal and hitting the solid brick wall on the other side of the canal. And totaled my mom's car out. But I was in the fourth grade, like I said. I ended up, my head hit the windshield and busted the windshield. My neck hit the dashboard and busted the dashboard. So my neck was cut, like all kinds of cuts all the way across my whole neck. My hand was holding the door, and at that time, we didn't wear seatbelts. That wasn't a thing back then. And my hand slid forward and hit the crease of the window, and I broke my wrist. And my knees, like my whole body, just simultaneously moved forward all together when we hit the brick wall. So then my knees hit the dashboard and ripped out, or not the dashboard, the glove box, and ripped out the glove box. So my knees were all busted up. Now, the first thing that I experienced is I know that I blacked out for a moment of time, but I came back to, and I remember my stepfather saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And immediately I couldn't move my neck. Like I could not move my neck. And then I guess I backed out again, because I don't know how I got out of the car. I don't know how my stepfather got out of the car. All I know is I came back to, and I'm out of the car. I'm out on the land, and my stepdad's trying to wave down cars, to stop a car. So he stopped whatever car would stop, and it was this pickup truck with this family in it. And he's like, "Hey, we just totaled the car here. Can you bring my daughter to the house to get my wife?" And he just throws me in the back of this stranger's pickup truck and sends me to the house to tell my mom we just totaled the car. Like, there was no ambulance called. There was no medical attention or anything given. I didn't even know my wrist was broken yet. I was in such shock until I grabbed the door handle of my dad's truck and went to go push with my thumb. The door handles where you push with your thumb and it pops open. I went to go push that and I couldn't do it. I was all of a sudden in horrible pain in my wrist and could not even use my thumb at all. So I broke my wrist. I obviously had a concussion, and my eyeballs were, later on that night, they felt like they were popping out of my head, but I got no medical attention, not by my parents or by any type of a doctor, no medical attention. So my mom ended up sending me to school, like I think that was on a Saturday. Yeah, it was on a Saturday, because me and we had just went out to like a job or something that my stepfather had, and I wouldn't be with him on a job unless it was the weekend. So it had to have been either Saturday or Sunday. Well, she sends me to school on Monday, and here I got my throat all slit like several times. My knees are all busted up, so they call Department of Children and Families because I was a mess at school on Monday.
As they should have.
I looked like a mess. So, of course, my parents tell them that I got medical attention and that I'm just fine. She's fine. You don't have anything to worry about. And they just believe anything that my parents tell them. But I got absolutely zero medical attention. So that was my first concussion, and that was around the beginning of fourth grade. So towards the end of fourth grade, my mom had a horse, and we grew up with horses. We had 2 horses, but at that time we only had the 1 horse. We hadn't got the second horse. So my mom had me out in the field with her because she was putting a salt lick in. I don't know if you know what a salt lick is, but it's to make the horse more thirsty so it'll drink more water. So I'm holding the horse by its reins, and the next thing I remember is waking up off the ground. So I got knocked completely out, and what ended up happening is the farm that we were keeping our horse at, where my mom boarded the horse, her dog came and ran in the pen, and apparently it spooked the horse. The horse reared up in the air and broke free of my hands, whipped around, and then kicked me right in the face. One hoof got me on between my collarbone and the bottom part of my jaw, and the other hoof got me on the other side of my face and threw me about 5 or 6 feet. Now, when I woke up off the ground, my whole scenery had changed, and I had no idea how I got on the ground.
You have been listening to Jackson Snyder Presents on Hebrew Nation Radio.
Where I was at, I was completely numb and didn't feel nothing at that point yet. And I look up to see where my mom is, and she's all the way at the entrance of the field of the pen, and the neighbor or the farm lady was already talking to her, and she was already explaining to her what happened to me. So I have no idea how long I was knocked out. I don't know how much time went by, but I got up, and as soon as I got up, immediately I could feel pain. Well, that happened on a Friday because we went to feed the horses. As soon as we got out of school, we went straight to the horse to feed the horse, and that happened right away. So, what ended up happening is I couldn't even get out of bed for a couple of days, for sure Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday. And I was scared to death to look at what my face looked like in the mirror. I was literally scared to death to look at myself. But when I looked at myself, my whole face, my head, I had bit through my bottom lip all the way through, and it was hanging, and I couldn't even hold my own lip up. I had my whole entire face was black and blue. My entire face was black and blue. My eyeballs were like swollen out of my head, and I looked horrible. I looked like one of the most horrid sights I have ever seen in my sight, and I only looked at myself for a split second. It was so horrifying. Well, she ended up sending me to school that Monday.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it.
With all this happening, black and blue, like I'm talking, I must have looked like a freak show. So, of course, they called DCF. And, of course, they tell my mom tells them, yep, we got her medical attention and she just has to heal. You know what I mean? That I just have to heal. Well, it took me 2 years for my face to heal. 2 school years. We'll just say 2 school years. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't open my mouth more than a finger. Like you put your fingertip between your 2 teeth and you put your finger there. I couldn't open my mouth any farther than that for 2 full school years.
Then you didn't get any medical attention. You never got the medical attention.
Zero medical attention.
I am surprised that they left you in that family at that time.
Yeah, no, my mom was like, yep, she's all good, you know. And I had to eat with a spoon and squeeze the spoon between my teeth and scrape off the top of my teeth and gnaw with my tongue the best that I could to get the food chewed to swallow. And what surprises me is that I can't believe the school did not see, okay, something's wrong with her and she's not healing. Something's wrong with her, you know what I mean? But nobody noticed me, man. Nobody noticed. Well, I didn't find out until later on when I was 21 years old. I went to the dentist for the first time, or maybe somewhere in my 20s. I went to the dentist for the first time for a cavity I had in one of my teeth. And the dentist did an x-ray, and when he looked at the x-ray, he's like, oh, you broke your jaw? And I'm like, no. And he was like, yes, you did. And he shows me the x-ray, and my whole bottom part of my jaw was cracked all the way. Like, you could see my jaw was broke, you know? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's why I couldn't open my mouth. That makes sense. I must have had something like lockjaw or something, you know? But I'll tell you what. Yes, I'll tell you what. After, maybe a month of me going through healing and some of the bruises and everything going away, the smacking around that is the norm around the house began to happen again. And I'll tell you what, when I would get backhanded with my jaw broke, that was the most excruciating pain that I had ever went through. The feeling of being backhanded with my jaw broke. I can't explain it to you, but you can get backhanded and you don't feel this feeling. But you get backhanded with your jaw broke, and the feeling of the bone in your face is the most. I can't even explain it. It's
there are a lot of big
horrifying feeling that and that never stopped. You know, after about a month, okay, Tammy's healed, let's start backhanding her again. You know what I mean? And that was a very horrifying experience.
Oh my.
Now, one of the last experiences that I told you on the last video is I was put in one of those homes where, you know, for runaways, and I told you I begged the judge not to let me out, and he ended up letting me out anyways. The reason why I ran away at that time was because it was Christmas time. My parents were at a Christmas party, and I had just went over to my friend's house that lived down the road earlier that day, and she was being raised by her brothers because her parents were killed, and they were like military guys that had been in the military, and they were raising their sister now because the parents got killed. Well, one of their military friends was home for the holidays because it was Christmas time. And my brother, my oldest brother, met him, and I guess they made some kind of decision that they're going to exchange music tapes. They were going to record on some music tapes and exchange them or something like that. Well, while my parents were at the Christmas party, that guy ended up coming over, and he was like 27 years old. He was a grown man. He came over and wanted to talk to my brother. So my brother comes out, and of course I follow him right out because I follow him wherever he goes. I follow him out, and he's having a conversation with the guy, and then my brother runs back in real quick to go get whatever it was that he was getting for the guy. So I'm standing there with this guy, and he's a black guy, and I don't mean to mention, you know, I don't want this to be any type of a prejudice thing, but I can tell you my parents were the most prejudiced people you will ever meet in your life, okay? Okay, so this guy's a black guy, and here my mom comes home from the party because she forgot something, and here I'm standing outside with this full-grown black man, and that's the scenery that she sees. You know, she pulls up and she's like, "What the F are you doing?" You know? And I was like, "Oh, Robert just ran back in the house to go get something. I was out here with him. This guy is getting something." You know, I'm trying to explain to her, and right in front of the man, she backhands me down to the ground, and she says, "Wait until I tell your father what you were doing," you know? And I knew right then and there that I had to leave. I had to get the heck out of there, because if he finds out that I was standing with a black man who my parents hate black people, it's gonna be the worst beating I've ever had in my life, you know? So I ended up going in the house, and I told my brother, I'm leaving, I'm running away. There's no way I'm gonna be in trouble for something that I don't even know exactly what I did here, but I'm in trouble, and it's gonna be big, so I'm leaving, you know? So I packed up my stuff, and I went to my friend's house that I was at earlier that day, where the 27-year-old man, military guy, on Christmas vacation was at. So I get there, and my friend's brothers are like, "You can't stay here, you can't stay here. They're going to send the cops," you know? So I was like, "Okay, well, I'll leave." So the 27-year-old man says, "You know, I can drive you somewhere if you need to. I can bring you somewhere to get you out of here." And I said, "Yes, please, just get me away. My dad is going to kill me. He's going to kill me." You know, so this guy was like, "Okay, well, let's go," you know. So I get in his truck and I leave, and he's got a couple other friends that they're visiting with him too, you know. So me and these three men now get into the one guy's pickup truck, and we drive, and we go down this back alley road that's along the canal, and we go and we park at these Orange Grove trucks. They're just empty Orange Grove trucks, and we ended up hiding out in there. Well, they stay with me for, a few hours or whatever, and then they leave, and then the one guy, the 27-year-old black guy, he comes back. So he comes back, and he's, acting like he's just checking on me and this, that, and the other. Well, he wasn't just checking on me. He came there to take what he wanted from me, and that's exactly what he did.
And how old were you?
I was 11 years old. No, actually, I turned 12 already, because that was at Christmas time. I was 11 years old, but when my parents went to the Christmas party, because my birthday's December 5th, so I just turned 12. So I had already turned 12.
So that man was a rapist, you're saying? That man was a rapist.
That man,
and
when he tried to grab me, I pulled back, and the first thing he did is backhanded me, basically. But when he backhanded me, it knocked me completely out. I fell straight to the ground, and when I came to, he had, he's coming down on me to get me, and I knew all I could say in my head is, I'm like, this man's going to kill me, and I'm going to be floating in that canal behind us. You know what I mean? Because there was always dead bodies being found in the canal where we were at.
Yeah.
So I just begged him the whole time. I'm like, please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. And the thing is all of a sudden, I know that this might sound weird, okay? But I already had a connection with the Father and had a connection with the Father. And the Father gave me instructions to tell this man that I'm not going to say to convince him that I'm not going to say nothing about this and pretend like I'm friendly with him. Okay. So after I got myself together and I'm done crying, I was like, you know, whatever I said, something like, you know, I don't know exactly what I said, but all I did was I made him feel okay about what he did to me, okay? I made him feel okay so that he wouldn't kill me, because I thought 100% for sure that he would kill me. So he ended up leaving again, and he was like, you know, I made it so comfortable to him that he was like, do you need anything? I'll bring you something back. And I was like, yeah, grab me a toothbrush and some toothpaste. I remember that. I don't remember everything else that I told him to grab me, but I just wanted him to leave because I knew as soon as he left, I was bolting out of there, you know? But I didn't want him to know that I was leaving because I didn't want him to kill me, you know? So that was my first real horrible rape, basically.
Did that ever get reported? Was that ever reported?
Well, I'm going to get to that. When I got, so that runaway, that time running away, that's when they locked me up in that facility that I told you they locked me up in.
Mm-hmm.
So in that facility, I ended up telling one of the staff members what had just happened to me. And when the judge released me to my mom, that lady went and told my mom what I told her. And my mom, in front of the people, pretended like she cared, and she told them that she was going to get right on that and make sure that, you know, that gets taken care of right away, that she was going to bring me to the doctors and have me checked out and this, that, and the other. My mom did absolutely nothing. That man got away with what he did, and to this day, he's never been charged with anything. And it was a military man, a military man that did this to me. So fast forward now, once I got released, begging that judge not to get out, I changed in my mind where I was so angry and hateful now towards my family. I was so angry and hateful that I began to do things that were truly rebellious, if that makes sense.
It does.
So after that incident, I became truly rebellious, and I started doing things like sneaking out in the middle of the night to go see my friend. I had this girl that lived up the road. I'd go and see her, and then I had this other friend that lived behind, that would always be at her aunt and uncle's house behind me, that I was sneaking out to go see. Well, that summer, that same year of fourth grade, not fourth grade. Now I'm jumping to, hold on, let me think. Now I am jumping. The jaw being broke happened in fourth grade. The rape that happened from the military happened in sixth grade. Okay, so now I'm in sixth grade. So the summer of sixth grade, one of the boys from my sixth grade class talked me into sneaking out in the middle of the night, and he wanted me to go get my friend that I was sneaking out and going to see and bring her over, and we were going to hang out. That's all was in my mind. We were going to hang out. So I went to my friend's house. She bailed out on me, so it was just me by myself. So I went to my friend's, this boy's house, alone, without my friend. So when I got to that house, he and his cousin were there. Now, he was a year older than me, and his cousin was a high schooler. So I don't know, he might have been about 16 years old. His cousin was a high schooler. So I got there, and everything was cool. We were hanging out, you know, just like we're hanging out in the classroom or whatever. Everything was cool. But all of a sudden, they both looked at me and said, well, we've decided that we're going to have sex with you. As soon as they said that to me, I jumped up, I ran to the front door to get out, and they deadbolted it, and I didn't know it. So I'm panicking with the door trying to get it open. I can't get it open, not realizing that they already planned this. They had this plan from the get-go, and I had no idea. So they both ran at me, grabbed me, and I just started ripping at everything there was in their house. I ripped things off their countertops. I ripped things off I pulled chairs from one end of the house to the other. I pulled couches from one end to the other. I ripped their house apart, trying to get away from them. And I finally get to a bedroom door thinking I can go in that bedroom and close the door and lock them out. And I open up the door, and there's this little 5-year-old, 6-year-old child sleeping in the bed. So these teenagers were home alone with a 5-year-old in the middle of the night. So the mother must have worked overnight or something, I assume. So I ripped at that little boy. I grabbed him, and I was crying hysterically, "Help me, little boy, help me," crying to this little boy. And I was so exhausted from fighting these boys that I literally could not move anymore. I had zero energy in me. So they both did it to me right there in the bed with this 5-year-old child sitting back watching it, okay? So the next year, I go to school. This is summertime that this happened. I go to school the next year, 7th grade, and I'm pleading and begging in myself, please do not let this kid be in my class. Please don't let him be in my class. So I go into my first period class, because it's middle school and you change classes. I go into my first period class, and thankfully he's not there. So I sit down at the desk, and I'm just so happy that he's not there, and hopefully he's not even coming to this school, this, that, and the other. So I sit down, and the bell rings, and lo and behold, after the bell rings, here he comes walking in my classroom. And he sees me, and right away he comes and he sits in the desk right behind me. So now I'm sitting here, the rapist is sitting behind me, and I'm panicking in my seat that this boy is sitting behind me that just raped me with his cousin that's in high school at the summertime, and he starts whispering behind me saying, "Help me, little boy, help me," and taunting me with what had happened that night. Taunting me with the, "Help me, little boy," crap. So from that day on, I chose that I was not going to go to school anymore. And every time the bus dropped me off, I would just walk off campus. Every day. I had straight F in 7th grade, and I had straight F in 8th grade. I went to school, got off the bus, and walked off campus. As soon as it was time for the bus to pick us up at school, I'd walk back on campus and get on the bus. And I'd watch the mail every day so that when the school would send letters in the mail to my mom, I would get it out of the mailbox so she wouldn't know. And that's how my summer went from my 6th grade to my 7th grade year. That was my 7th and 8th grade year. And then my parents moved to Naples, and it was such a relief to go from one scenery to a whole different scenery.
Well, I got to stop you right now. I must be a sheltered child, but I had never heard such a horrible story as this. A horrible story. And what I'd like to do, will you come back again next week, Tammy?
Yes, if it's okay for me to give you another layer of the story.
Yeah, one more time we'll do it. And I thank you for sharing that story. And I'm going to ask you now to go so we can talk a little bit. Okay. And you'll be able to hear whatever we say on the recording. But I want to thank you again for revealing things that I would not even dare if it were me to tell anybody else. Thank you.
I've never told people this, and what I've told you guys, I've told bits and pieces, but I've never told people this is really, truly getting a darkness that has rode with me that I don't know how anybody could ever forget this life that I've had to live. Ever forget it, but it really is freeing me. Darkness is coming out of me. It's the last thing I truly believe that I need to get out of me, that the enemy has a hold on me with, is this sense of darkness that what I've hid from everybody. My whole life, I've hid this and not told anybody, and it needs to come out, and I'm truly thankful that you've allowed me to do this.
Well, Elohim loves you, and we do too. We're your friends. Everybody here that has video is saying so. So
thank you.
Let's talk again next week. And in the meantime, maybe you could pray for us as well. We don't want to share stories like this. It's just too devastating for us. But you've come through to do that, and I can't tell you how we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So next week, not Thursday, right?
That's right. Next Tuesday.
Okay. All right. I'll talk to you soon then. Thank you so much.
Good night, Tammy.
You have a good night too. Bye-bye.
Well, my friends, I know some of you have had really, really bad childhoods because we talked about it. That's how I know. And it seems like my childhood was absolutely covered up. If I'd have seen or participated in anything like that, I don't know how I could have survived it. How about you? What do you think? Where's she at now? Are you hearing her say that she's getting catharsis out of this? She's getting a cleansing?
Yes.
What's on your mind, Ann?
I just think she's so brave. And I think the enemy has just got such a black eye. And he's so covered in the blood of Yeshua. And I'm just so proud of her as a fellow believer. She's so brave. She's so much more brave than I am.
Yeah, you're pretty brave, though.
I can't tell my story.
Your story would be, I don't know if they'd top that one or not. Might come close. Anybody else? That's Ann Burnett of Vero Beach, Florida. Nobody else? No other words to say? Isn't it a marvel of Elohim to take a person who has been through this and bring them through this? My concern is that she has a lot of children who will have a lot of children. And we have this curse that comes through family lines, probably genetic, certainly spiritual, and that what happened to her could affect numerous families and lives down through time. It's time to break some curses. And maybe that's what we'll do next time, next Tuesday night. So until then, my quiet crowd, I wish you all the best and your victories in your own battles against the evil one. May Yahweh, Yeshua, be praised. Amen.